Well, it was kind of a bittersweet weekend for the Dodgers. They won a series. They maintained their ground in the National League, actually gained some ground in the National League West. They also lost two big parts of the lineup. We'll see how long it's for. A lot to talk about between Tyler Glasnow, Freddie Freeman, Clayton Kershaw, Michael Kopech, and so much more. So let's get live on Locked On Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Dodger fans, this is Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks to our everydayers for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. And thanks to those of you who are with us live here on Sunday evening. Remember, this show is free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. So please subscribe wherever you're watching or listening right now. If this is your first time with us, my name is Jeff Snyder. That guy next to me is my co-host, Vince Samperio. Vince and I are both lifelong Dodger fans, just like a lot of you. We've also both spent time covering the Dodgers in the press box and the locker room, so we bring you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue every weekday morning. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. And with that said, let's jump right in, Vince. There was a ton that happened this weekend. The Dodgers played 3 games. Obviously, they won 2 of them. The funny thing is, Kevin Kiermaier hit a game-winning home run, and this is probably the only time we're going to talk about Kevin Kiermaier. I guess he might come up in the conversation about who's coming up and going down. But there was so much going on because I think the big news was 2 new injuries. Tyler Glasnow on Friday. We started getting nervous because Dave Roberts was a little bit cagey, not answering questions about we knew that Bobby Miller was coming up to pitch on Friday, and we didn't know whose roster spot he was taking, and Dave Roberts wouldn't answer the question, and we kind of figured out, it seems to be about Tyler Glasnow. Like maybe there's some concerns about his health, and that turned out to be the case. He went on the 15-day IL. Wow, I'm a good talker this weekend. 15-day IL with right elbow tendinitis. He said he feels fine. He felt a little soreness after his bullpen session on Wednesday. He felt an obligation to tell the team because of the money and years that they've invested into him. And so it seems like this is very much a precautionary. He had a little soreness. It's mid-August. Let's put him on the 15-day IL right now with him, Glasnow specifically already being up there around his career high in innings pitched. Maybe they saw it as a way to have him a little more fresh for October, but I don't know. Vince, do you get that impression? Are you I wouldn't say I'm unconcerned, but I'm not as concerned as I thought I might be. Or do you feel the same way?
Yeah. River Ryan also said he wanted to keep pitching and he had a strained UCL. So tendinitis is a vague term in the sense of going on the IL. Like I had tendinitis when I was younger, and there was like nothing other than rest and maybe a few elbow strengthening exercises. So I do think it might just be a matter of, you felt a little sore. Like Yamamoto felt sore after his start, and then turned into this. So I'm like,
why you got to be like that, Vince?
There's ways to look at it both ways, but with Glasnow, a guy, knowing his body, and the other part that a lot of people bring up with Glasnow, and we talked about this when he got traded to the Dodgers and signed the extension, was he's not necessarily injury prone. He had one injury that kind of bit him twice. And I don't think it's a matter, obviously the innings, him going above and beyond any innings he's thrown in the past, that is, I don't think concern is just something to kind of look out for. But I do think that this guy, knows his body. And if he had not said anything, went out and pitched 6 good innings or something like that, wouldn't even be talking about it. But I do think knowing from what's happened in the past with other guys, him speaking up is a good thing. And hopefully they caught it. And it's just, he'll know it, take 2 weeks off like he did earlier this year and come back ready for the last couple weeks of the season.
Yeah. And the one reason I think that I am more inclined, because you make a good point about River Ryan wanting to stay in his game too. But there's some pretty big differences, including that Tyler Glasnow has been through Tommy John surgery. He's been through arm injuries, and he's an established veteran. He's already made his money. River Ryan is trying to make his name, trying to make his money, and dealing with this particular arm injury for the first time. And so, I would think I'm not necessarily a huge proponent of, like you said, he knows his body, because there's been plenty of times when, I didn't know I was about to hurt myself. And then I did. And, if anybody should be expecting to get hurt, it's a guy built like me. But in this case, because Glasnow has been through arm things, I do think he knows his body a little bit more. And so, yeah, I do give a lot of credence to that. I guess staying on the injury front, I guess we're both hopeful that Glasnow will be back in, and now we're down to 12 days. In fact, I don't know if they backdated it, because they could have backdated it up to 3 days. So
I think they said they already backdated it.
Yeah, so he could be back in like 8 or 9 days probably. But then Freddie Freeman on Saturday, he took a ground ball off the finger. I think it was his right middle finger. Ball took a funky hop and hit him on the end of the finger, jammed his finger. He came out of that game. We kind of got a hint that something was going on, because Teoscar Hernandez was in the on-deck circle to pinch hit for him, and Freddie Freeman is not a guy you pinch hit for in a 4-2 game like it was at the time. Then they took him out of the game on defense. And then on Sunday, it was looking and feeling worse. And so Freeman is out for – he's day-to-day, but they've already said he's not going to play on Monday. Chances are, if he couldn't even hold a bat on Sunday, I would guess it's several days before we see him. But they did say he's going to get some scans in LA. So the x-rays were negative, but I always remember Andre Ethier's shin x-rays that came back negative in 2015. And then that injury, it basically ended up ending his career. He played a handful of games the next 2 years and then was done. It took him months to recover from that fractured shin, and he was never same player again. Obviously, a shin is different than a middle finger. But my point is the x-rays don't always show fractures, especially on the day that it happens.
Yeah, that one's a little bit, tougher. And again, all these can, I guess it's just depending on your mindset and how you feel, glass half full, glass half empty. Because, yeah, when you get hit in the moment, way different levels of sports, but I played on a bum ankle like 2 games before. And then once the game was over, the adrenaline wore off. I took my shoe off and my ankle blew up to, the size of whatever. And obviously I couldn't have played the next day. Freddie, it could be as simple as that. Like, it was not too bad in the moment. It ended up continuing to swell or whatever. And now it's maybe unusable for a few days and you're just waiting for the swelling to go down. That's what we're hoping for. The worst case scenario is maybe a little fracture, but even then, I guess it just depends how the fracture is, what the fracture is and everything else. And that'll happen. But yeah, I'm going to remain optimistic on this one. That is just, it got too swollen. And, the day after you get hit in your finger or when, whatever you do with your finger, you might not be able to hold the bat. You might not be able to hold the bat for a few days. The good part is that, Max Muncy will get called up and the Dodgers will have at least Max Muncy at first base. They'll still have to wait to put him over there at third base. But at the very least, it comes at a time where Tommy Edman and Max Muncy are rejoining the roster.
Yeah, and it was, I mentioned this on Twitter. This is the first time in Freddie Freeman's career that he's put on a Dodger uniform and then sat and watched them play a meaningful game. He has played every meaningful game that he's been in uniform for since he came to the Dodgers. He's only missed games after they clinched or when he was away from the team for family reasons. So I'm sure that was weird for him. I did misspeak earlier. I said we knew that Bobby Miller was getting called up. What we knew was that Justin Robleski was pitching on Friday. We didn't know what the roster move was going to be for that. Bobby Miller was the replacement for Tyler Glasnow on Saturday. That did not go well. We're going to come back in a minute. We're going to talk a little bit about the performances by Robleski and Miller. Just briefly, we're going to talk about the guys coming back from injured list stints soon and when they're coming and a bunch more. So thanks for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. And please keep it Locked On Dodgers. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million active members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the excitement and win up to 100 times your money watching sports with PrizePicks. PrizePicks, you could turn $10 into $1,000 while watching your favorite sports. You can make a PrizePicks lineup of players across all different sports in as little as 60 seconds. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5, even if you don't win. And get 4 weeks of free W's because 1 passing yard from Caleb Williams gets you 1 win on PrizePicks every week in September. PrizePicks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's promo code LOCKEDONMLB in the PrizePicks app for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, run your game. We are back. We want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Thanks again to those of you who are with us live on Sunday evening. Remember, you can become an everydayer by watching and listening to us every weekday morning. Make that easy on yourself by subscribing wherever you're watching or listening right now. You can go beyond the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com. And you can check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles on YouTube, 24/7 streaming channels. Locked On Sports LA is where you can find the Locked On Dodgers postcast after most Dodger games, hosted by Pete Fox. And catch every pitch of every Dodger game on SiriusXM or the SXM app by searching for Dodgers. And with that said, let's jump back in. Let's talk briefly about the rookie performances this weekend. We had 2 starts one by a rookie, 1 by a second-year guy, and 1 by an old man. And the order of quality, I'd say the old man did the best, the rookie did the second best, and the second-year guy left us wondering once again if we will ever see the good version of him again. Bobby Miller, I have given up hope that we are going to see a good version of Bobby Miller this year, Vince.
Yeah, I mean, similar to Walker Buehler in the sense of I don't have any hope for them being positive additions or positive starts in a rotation right now. And, with Miller, I think they're going to be a lot easier to just kind of say, you know what, you might shut you down for the rest of the year. I talked about last week maybe putting him in a bullpen role, but I don't know. I don't know if that changes anything. His issue is not necessarily the velocity; it's everything else that comes with it. And I don't think it's the right time. If they had a 10-game lead right now, okay, maybe you can try it out, but they don't. And realistically, the velocity started out 98, but 98's even down from what we usually, even if it's him trying to tone it down in order to whatever. And Adam Wainwright had a lot of good observations about Miller on Saturday during his start and just kind of how he has so many different pitch grips for, he has at least 2 pitch grips for a bunch of his pitches and everything else. And I think it's just simplifying it. I do think that, at some point, Bobby's got to simplify it, maybe even go down to 3 pitches in the meantime, refine those, and then kind of move forward. But he also could have something underlying injury-wise. I think, might be best just shut him down. He's not going to help the team this year. Yeah,
even if it's not necessarily an injury, it could be related to the shoulder issue that he had, where he's better, but he's not, his mechanics aren't back yet. And so, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mentioned this to our insiders over the weekend. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go on the 60-day IL and just, open up a 40-man roster spot, make some of those decisions easier and shut him down for the year. The difference between him and Buehler is the Dodgers are committed to him long-term because they still have 4 more years of team control with Bobby Miller. And so much more incentive to get him right. And this stuff is good. It could be, Bobby Miller could show up in spring training next year and look awesome and have a great year next year. And it wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't put money on it probably, but it wouldn't surprise me because it really is a command thing. So, and that can be fixed in an off season and a spring training. Kershaw was great. I guess we'll talk about that next. Kershaw, 6 scoreless innings, only 70 pitches. Could have come back out for the 7th. He wanted to. When he gave up the back-to-back hits to start the 6th inning, I was kind of thinking, and then he hung a pitch. He got away with a not great pitch to Mason Wynn. Wynn had homered in each of the first 2 games, and Kershaw was a little bit lucky that Wynn got under it and flied out to center on that ball, and then he gets the double play to get out of the inning. But you picture an alternate universe where Wynn doesn't miss that ball, and Kershaw gives up a 3-run home run on that pitch. And then picture an alternate universe from that one where Dave Roberts pulls Clayton Kershaw after 5 innings. And everybody would be upset that they pulled him. I mean, there were people upset that he pulled him after 6 innings with only 70 pitches. Imagine if he had pulled him after 5 innings at whatever, 58 pitches or whatever it was. But then imagine if he didn't pull him and then he gives up that 3-run homer. That it's kind of as I was watching, I was like, this is why second guessing all these decisions is so pointless, because we will never know what would have happened in the alternate universe. We don't know what would have happened if Kershaw had come back out for the 7th inning of this game. We know that Evan Phillips got through the 7th, and then Daniel Hudson gave up a homer in the 8th. Then Michael Kopech got the save in the 9th. We don't know what would have happened if Kershaw pitched the 7th, but the Dodgers got the win, and it did reinforce to me that Dave Roberts is smarter when his relievers pitch well.
Yeah, that's always going to be one of the things that stand out. But for Kershaw, doing it a little bit different than he had in the past. Like, didn't really have the strikeouts, didn't really have the swing and miss, only 4 swings and misses, just the 2 strikeouts. But obviously was efficient, pitching contact, different things, having guys limiting the hard contact. Obviously, that's the biggest point. Heavy slider, heavy fastball, and it looks like he threw a couple splitters in there. But Kershaw's going to find a way for the most part. I think the Padres game is more of an anomaly than anything else. And, if you go back to listen to our episode after that game, it's a lot different tone than we have now. And with everything that's kind of shaping up, it looks like Clayton Kershaw could be gearing up to be a pitcher for the Dodgers in October now. And realistically, the way he's pitching, and if he continues to pitch this way, he's going to earn it. And nothing that really matters beyond that in the past or anything else. Like, if he pitches well enough and the Dodgers don't get everyone back that they're expecting, Clayton Kershaw could be starting the game for the Dodgers in October. And at this point, he's way better than Walker Buehler, way better than Bobby Miller, way better than a lot of these other options. Even, Robleski, who people seem to like, but he's been kind of up and down. Gavin Stone at this point is probably fighting for that same spot. So, yeah, I mean, it's just fun to watch Kershaw pitch.
Yeah, for sure. If Yamamoto comes back and pitches well, then the top 3 are in some order: Glasnow, Flaherty, and Yamamoto. And then it's that 4th spot that could be Kershaw, could be Stone, could be Robleski, could be, not River Ryan, probably not Ben Kasparius, who we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, Kershaw is back in that conversation, and conversation for the 4th starter. I like that spot for him. I would love for him to start games in October if he has earned it and if he can pitch well. He picked a good day to get a lot of weak ground balls, with the Dodgers taking the Padres route and having an infield full of shortstops. Kike Hernandez at first base, Gavin Lux at second base, Nick Ahmed at shortstop, and Miguel Rojas at third base. All 4 of those guys have played extensive time at shortstop in the major leagues. And, it worked out. Kershaw got double plays. He got, ground balls, some weak flyouts, but a lot of work for those 4 shortstops in the infield. And that worked out really well for him.
Yeah. And again, he's going to get it done in different ways. And it kind of, maybe goes to show, talking about Buehler, talking about Miller, that if you can execute your best pitches, it doesn't really matter what else goes on, because you can still be effective.
Yeah, for sure. Last thing for this segment, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll talk about all the reinforcements coming. Michael Kopech, as we mentioned, he did get the save in this game. He also got the save on Friday, threw a pitch 103 miles an hour on Friday, topped out around 97, 98 on Sunday. Probably just, pitching 2 days after you threw that hard. Hopefully it's nothing more than that, but he got the save again. Would have been a perfect inning if Freddie Freeman had been in the game. 6'5" Freddie Freeman would have kept his foot on the bag. 5'10" Kike Hernandez maybe kept his foot on the bag, but not enough for the replay to say that he did. So Austin Barnes gets a throwing error there, but then Kopech got a double play too. He said, hey, shortstop's in the infield, let's get her done again. And he did, got the save. It seems like for now, Michael Kopech is the Dodgers closer.
Yeah, and we just talked about this the other day after, Daniel Hudson struggled, and should he have pitched earlier in the game? Should Kopech have picked later in the game? And, we got that answer pretty quickly. I do think I saw something about Kopech, just basically that he was gassed a little bit, has thrown a lot more than he did with the White Sox. So I think he's going to be down a few days. But yeah, obviously, one, you kind of need to ramp them up. So maybe they're going to give them more back-to-backs or 2 out of 3s or whatever. But also, just pitching in high leverage is when you go from a team that it doesn't really matter.
No such thing as high leverage on the White Sox.
It doesn't matter. And you're going to, you see his jersey every time. I mean, I sweat a lot and I would probably be the same, but like the extra adrenaline, everything else, where they've been playing, the humidity, and then you just see like he's probably expending a lot more energy than he had been in the past. So, all right, catch yourself. We got a long homestand. Weather's not going to be too bad. Figure it out, and then you'll come back. And with Blake Treinen coming back, which we'll talk about in a little bit, like maybe Daniel Hudson is going to get that next rest, and the Dodgers are going to just have Kopech back there chilling.
Yeah, hopefully the Dodgers offense can score a bunch of runs on Monday. Let Ben Kasparius get a 3-inning save in his major league debut or something. Give Kopech some time off because, like I said, he'll probably be down for, I would guess, at least two days. They may give him the whole Mariners series off and then throw in the day off on Thursday and get him some real rest. We'll see. But we're going to come back in a minute. We're going to talk about some of these guys who are coming back, specifically Max Muncy, Tommy Edman, and Blake Treinen, and what the roster might look like as that happens. So thanks again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen, and please keep it Locked On Dodgers. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we've got something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of. And with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. So all you got to do is bet $5, check out FanDuel, see what you like. You got the over, Dodgers going up against the Mariners. It's probably going to be a pitcher's duel. You may want to take the under on the total runs scored, whatever it is. You got to bet it. You don't even have to win it. You just bet the $5 and you'll get your free 3-week trial of NFL Sunday Ticket. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. Hey, we're back. Thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. Please become an everydayer by watching us every weekday morning. Become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. Check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles on YouTube. Catch every pitch of every Dodger game on SiriusXM or the SXM app by searching for Dodgers. And let's talk some more Dodgers. We had heard last week that Tommy Edman and Max Muncy would both be back at the beginning of this next homestand. I always wondered, I was careful on this show to not say they'll both be back on Monday because they never quite said that. They just said when the Dodgers come back home to face the Mariners. And then we found out that the plan was for Tommy Edman to return on Monday, Max Muncy to return on Tuesday. But then with Freddie Freeman's injury being down day-to-day on the active roster, but not really available. And currently, Kike Hernandez is the only guy on the roster with any first base experience, and he's done fine there, but he's not a first baseman. Max Muncy is a first baseman, hasn't been in a couple of years, but he does have more experience there. And so it seems likely that they're going to bring back both Edman and Muncy on Monday. And that means more roster moves because the Dodgers, when they called up Ben Kasparius, they did DFA Brent Honeywell. So that spot is Honeywell was kind of a low-hanging fruit. He had a good ERA, but just, we've talked several times, he didn't have the stuff to really be a factor for the Dodgers in October. So that DFA we kind of saw coming. But they also, when they activated Ryan Brazier, they used up the 40-man roster spot that had been Ahmed Rosario's. And so they've kind of borrowed that roster spot from the offensive side for the pitching side for now. So they could take that spot back by, either, River Ryan going to the 60-day IL to make room for one of these guys, but they're also going to have to make 26-man roster moves. And some of those might kind of like Brent Honeywell. Sometimes your 26-man roster move is also a 40-man roster move. So, we've kind of speculated, but now it's time for the rubber to meet the road, Vince. And I'm really intrigued because there are a lot of different ways the Dodgers could go with this.
Yeah, I think probably Nick Ahmed's probably the one for sure that we know is probably not had his last day on the roster for the Dodgers. But beyond that, Kiermaier, Pages, Hayward, could one of them be injured list for at least a 26-man spot? Pages can get optioned if they do decide him, but he's been hitting better of late. It kind of feels like Jason Hayward is the irrelevant spot right now. Like he doesn't provide the offense. He hasn't been hitting that well. He can't provide defense, but Pages in right and Kiermaier in center, and then now you get Edman. Well, obviously he's not gonna play right because Mookie's there, but Mookie gets that one day off. I don't know. I honestly don't have any idea what they're gonna do. Like, I don't think they would DFA Jason Hayward, but it might be hey, Jason Hayward, your knee hurts, and it's probably gonna hurt the rest of the season.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, you are 35 years old last week. Yeah, that back of yours is acting up again, and I believe it's going to be better in November. So 60-day IL. I don't know why I keep trying to say that phrase, Vince. I can't say that phrase. But yeah, because Hayward is purely from a baseball standpoint. If people came in and looked at who's on the team, no emotional connection to any of them, no consideration of off-field stuff, any of that, Jason Hayward is obvious. Nick Ahmed is the most obvious, and then Jason Hayward is right there because Hayward, now that Mookie Betts is the everyday right fielder, there's no, unless they're going to sometimes have Mookie play second base. But when they were going to have Mookie play second base, it would probably be against a left-handed pitcher if they want Lux out of the lineup. And so it wouldn't make sense to have Hayward to back him up there. Make more sense to have Pages be the backup right fielder if Mookie did occasionally play second base. So yeah, Hayward makes a lot of sense. And the fact is, if they need that 40-man roster spot, it's got to be either a DFA or a serious injury. And I don't know how easy it is. Like Bobby Miller, easy to say, yeah, 60-day IL. There's something not right physically. That's why you're so bad, and you're not going to be better in time to come back. I don't know if you can come from Jason Hayward pinch hitting on Sunday to, and now you're on the 60-day IL. I don't know if that's possible. And so we'll see what happens. But because of that, I do wonder if it might at least be a short-term thing where it is Andy Pages going down in the immediate term, because then they could always, if, okay, Hayward, just so you know, you need to sleep wrong on Tuesday night and boom, injury. Now we can call Pages back up because the injury exception put Hayward on the 60-day. But I don't know that they can do that for Monday with both of those guys coming back. And another guy who I don't think it's going to be, but Kevin Kiermaier, if Tommy Edman's going to be the center fielder, but maybe Tommy Edman isn't going to be the center fielder quite yet because Max Muncy is going to be the first baseman for at least a few days, which means somebody got to play third base, which means it could be Kike Hernandez or it could be Miguel Rojas or it could be Tommy Edman. And if it's Rojas, then Edman could be at shortstop. So, there's Kiermaier might still be useful, even if he wasn't hitting better lately. Didn't hit well on Sunday, but had a good weekend. It's going to be an interesting thing, but yeah, it's hard to get past the fact that Jason Hayward is the most logical choice.
Yeah, and it just makes the most sense. And, at this point, even if it's just ride the hot hand, like, okay, Edman, you're going to play short because Kiermaier is on a hot streak right now. We want to see, is it just, one of those lucky weeks, or is he actually, a better hitter? Whatever the case, like, there's a different ways to go about it. But, yeah, unfortunately, it just doesn't feel like Hayward brings the value they need to this roster right now compared to other people that are coming back.
Yeah, and both of these guys need 40-man roster moves. Blake Treinen won't need a 40-man roster move when he comes back on Tuesday, but he will need a 26-man roster move. And, obviously Bobby Miller is an easy one to move off the roster, whether it's optioned or IL or whatever. But then, yeah, I'm just looking at the rest of the roster, and River Ryan is a guy, like I said, he could be put to that one injured list that I can't say. And that would open up a 40-man roster spot. So yeah, there's stuff to happen. The exciting thing is, and I guess you kind of hinted at this, we had mentioned to our insiders, Daniel Hudson could take the 15-day spa break when Blake Treinen comes back, because Hudson has struggled lately, probably could use a couple weeks off. And so it might just be a 1-for-1 right there, which then does leave other options when they do send Miller down or out or however he goes. So it could be some interesting things on the pitching front coming.
Yeah, we've been talking about this moment for a while now, and we didn't even mention Ryan Brazier came back this weekend, and he pitched an inning. I don't remember if he pitched Sunday, but he pitched on Saturday for sure. And yeah, the Dodgers are starting to trickle back. Brusdar Graterol was seen throwing at Dodger Stadium this weekend, and Dave Roberts said he's going to throw. Yamamoto threw in St. Louis, but we're not entirely sure why it was only 17 pitches. They said it might have been because of the humidity or the mound or some out there, but it's slowly but surely getting back. And this weekend, the Dodgers got help. Like, they picked up games on the D-backs and the Padres.
Yeah. And they're up by 3 games on the Padres, 4 games on the D-backs. And the Padres, we've gotten through the Padres' 15-game stretch of playing bad teams, and so I think they play the Twins now?
Yeah, I think they play 18 in a row or something like that now.
Yeah, so the Dodgers have weathered the storm. There's still plenty more storm to weather, but the big part of the storm, they, as Barry Manilow said, they made it through the rain and kept their world protected, made it through the rain and kept their point of view. You want me to quote the whole song? I could quote every Barry Manilow song. One last thing, Victor Aguilar asked, what about that one guy who said Kershaw would have been DFA'd by any other team? Just wanted to make sure that we give credit to Nando. I'm putting his comment up earlier. Credit where credit is due. Good job, Kershaw. Please pitch like that in October, though. LOL. And so Nando owned it. He was wrong, and he owned it. Maybe someday he'll admit that he's wrong about saying fire Dave Roberts all the time, but we'll see about that. So much going on, Vince. Dodgers start a series with the Mariners. Justin Turner coming home. Ben Kasparius probably making his major league debut. We'll probably talk more about Kasparius tomorrow. We've mentioned him in passing here today, but too much going on with guys who actually played baseball or didn't when they should have, to get to guys who might play baseball soon. But yeah, anything else you got today, Vince?
If anything, the Dodgers have given us something to talk about very easily pretty much every day this season compared to years past. Yeah, so. All right, that'll do it for us. Thank you all for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. Thank you for being here with us live. It's been a lot of fun, active chat. It's fun doing these while see the chat rolling through, everybody making fun of me being unable to say 60-day injured list. Look what I just did. That'll do it for us. Be coming every day by watching and listen every weekday morning. Be sure to subscribe wherever you're watching and listening right now to make that easier for yourself. Be sure to check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles on YouTube, 2 24/7 streaming channels. Locked On Sports LA is where you can get the Locked On Dodgers postcast hosted by Pete Fox after almost every Dodger game. For your second listen, check out Locked On MLB hosted by our friend Sully, covering all of Major League Baseball. Really good show over there. You can go beyond the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. Text directly with us. Just a few bucks a month, free 14-day trial. It is a lot of fun, so check that out. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Vince is on Twitter at VinceSense91. I'm on Twitter at Snydog. Both of our DMs are open there. You can also email us, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or send us a voicemail or a text message to 323-863-LOCK-5625. We are here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car or sit on your couch, tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one.